If you think meditation is just sitting in a quiet room with your legs crossed, you're doing it wrong. Or, at the very least, you're making it way, way harder on yourself than it needs to be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a very specific and honestly super intimidating image that pops into our heads when we hear the word mindfulness, you know?
Right, like total silence.
Yeah, exactly. We picture this complete stillness, a totally blank mind, and let's be real, a level of patience that most of us, frankly, do not possess.
No, definitely not. And that intimidating image is exactly what we are dismantling today. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are cracking open the Calm app.
Which is such a massive topic.
It is. And to do this properly, we pulled together a really fascinating stack of sources. We've got Calm's official guides and FAQs, but we're cross-referencing their marketing claims with some brutally honest reviews from across the spectrum.
Yeah, we aren't just taking your word for it.
Exactly. We're pulling insights from a licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Allison, plus tech reviewers like Noah Banks and the team at Bytes Media, and even the sleep analysts over at Mattress Clarity.
It's honestly the perfect stack for a topic like this. You get the mechanical intention of the app directly from the creators, placed right alongside real-world, highly skeptical testing.
Skeptical is definitely the operative word here. So the mission for our deep dive today is to give you, the busy, curious, probably overwhelmed listener, the I Can't Meditate Survival Guide.
I love that title.
Right. We are going to explore 5 specific ways to reap the scientifically backed benefits of mindfulness through movement, sound, and sleep without ever having to sit perfectly still on a cushion.
Because if we look at the reality of modern life, the traditional delivery system for meditation just doesn't fit the neurological style of someone whose brain is accustomed to processing information at, a million miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a total mismatch. But okay, let's unpack this because right off the bat, I have to point out the inherent, almost laughable paradox of our entire premise today.
Oh, the smartphone thing.
Yes, we are talking about using a smartphone app to achieve mental peace. To me, that sounds a bit like trying to put out a house fire with a flamethrower.
It really does.
I mean, the device that is fundamentally engineered to interrupt you, stress you out, and harvest your attention is now supposedly the cure for the anxiety it created.
It is a massive contradiction. And you aren't the only one who felt that way either. If you look at our sources, almost all the professionals and tech reviewers started out as massive skeptics of this exact premise.
Yeah, Noah Banks, right?
Exactly. Noah Banks explicitly stated in his review that he thought tech-based meditation was just a fad. Like a bunch of monetized hippie stuff.
He really couldn't understand how staring at a screen and breathing in and out slowly could fundamentally change your day.
And then there's Dr. Allison. In 2006, when she was starting her PhD program to become a clinical psychologist, she was adamant that she wasn't going to be the kind of therapist who talked softly or pushed meditation.
She thought it was woo-woo.
Yeah, she thought the whole concept was weird and unscientific. But what eventually changed her mind, and what the clinical data continuously supports, is that effective mindfulness requires stripping away all that spiritual fluff.
Which Calm actually does pretty well.
They do. Calm takes a secular biological approach. It relies on mindfulness-based stress reduction techniques. So if we look at the journey of a stressed mind throughout an average day, the first hurdle is usually a moment of acute, unexpected panic.
Oh, right, like opening an email from your boss that just says, call me.
Precisely. The worst email to get. And in that moment of acute panic, your nervous system gets trapped in a sympathetic state. That is your biological fight or flight response.
So your heart rate spikes.
Yep, your heart rate spikes, your breathing becomes shallow, and cortisol just floods your system. Biologically, you are physically preparing to run from a predator.
Except you're just sitting at your kitchen table in your sweatpants.
Oh.
Which brings us to the first tool in our survival guide. The breathing bubble.
A very simple but effective tool.
It really is. Mm-hmm. It's essentially a 60-second biological override switch. It's just an animation on the screen that expands and contracts. And you sync your breathing to it. I actually really appreciate this feature because it leans right into that smartphone paradox we talked about.
How so?
Well, if you are already holding the flamethrower, you might as well use it to trigger the fire suppression system, right?
That's a highly functional way to view it. And it works because you cannot consciously tell your brain to stop panicking. Like telling yourself to calm down rarely works.
Never works for me. It usually makes me more mad.
Exactly. But you can control your diaphragm. By intentionally slowing your breathing to match that visual bubble, you are mechanically forcing your nervous system to shift out of fight or flight and into the parasympathetic mode.
Which is the rest and digest state.
Right. The slower breath rate acts as a physical lever that lowers your heart rate and reduces tension.
The Mattress Clarity review made a really interesting point about this, actually. They compared Calm directly to Headspace, which is, the other heavyweight in the meditation app world.
Oh, yeah, the big rivalry.
Yeah. And they noted that Calm is significantly better for these immediate acute fixes. If you're spiraling, Headspace often wants you to sit down and do a long foundational audio course to understand your mind.
Which is a lot to ask when you're actively panicking.
Right. Calm just says, hey, stare at this bubble for 60 seconds and let's get your heart rate under control first.
It meets the user at their immediate point of friction rather than demanding they learn a whole new philosophy while they are actively stressed.
But let's follow that stress response. Say you do the 60-second breathing exercise. The immediate panic subsides, but the adrenaline from that boss's email leaves a residue.
It lingers in the body.
Exactly. What happens to the physical tension that settles in? The knot in your shoulder, the tight jaw? If you're carrying that kind of physical agitation, forcing yourself to sit perfectly still to meditate is just going to make you feel trapped and angry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That physical agitation is a major barrier for people who claim they, quote unquote, can't meditate. And it leads us to the concept of mindful movement.
Calm body.
Yes, specifically through the Calm Body feature. What's fascinating here is how Dr. Allison's review provides a great lesson in misinterpreting intent.
Oh, she totally missed the mark initially. She admitted that she completely ignored the Calm Body section for months.
She did. Her reasoning was, I already have a gym membership, I work out, I don't need a meditation app to give me fitness routines.
Which is a fundamental misunderstanding of the tool. Calm Body is not a fitness class designed to burn calories or build muscle. I mean, it is essentially digital physical therapy for your nervous system.
That's a great way to put it. It's short, guided videos walking you through very gentle stretching and tension release.
Dr. Allison ended up raving about their morning stretch routine. Instead of waking up, grabbing your phone, and blindly doom scrolling through the news while your body is still stiff.
Which we all do.
We all do it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, you wake your body up with deliberate intent. You pay attention to how your hamstrings feel as they extend. You focus entirely on the physical sensation of movement.
And that deliberate attention is the core mechanism here. Dr. Allison points out a profound clinical insight. You can do almost anything mindfully, provided you bring your deliberate awareness to the present moment.
So you don't have to be sitting.
Not at all. For individuals whose minds race the second they try to sit quietly, giving the physical body a specific, gentle task acts as an anchor.
You're giving the loud, distracted part of your brain a job. You're saying, hey, figure out how to balance on this one leg so the rest of your mind can actually quiet down.
Exactly. It occupies just enough of the brain's processing power to prevent it from spinning off into anxious thoughts. It creates an active pathway to a calm state.
But let's introduce another real-world constraint. Let's say you can't stretch. You're stuck at your desk in an open-plan office, you have a deadline in 2 hours, and your coworker's eating almonds very loudly.
The worst.
You can't drop into a morning stretch, and you need to keep your eyes on your screen.
That is where the strategy has to shift from active physical mindfulness to passive ambient mindfulness. You have to manipulate your auditory environment.
And this brings us to the soundscapes and frequency tools, which is honestly where my skeptic alarm started ringing pretty loudly when reading the sources.
Really? How so?
Well, the immersive soundscapes make sense to me. Mattress Clarity noted the ambient background sounds from the movie Dune, and these West Texas desert audios that make you feel like you're camping.
They're very cool.
That sounds lovely and isolating. But then the app offers colored noise and binaural beats. I had to really dig into this because at first glance, selling different colors of static to stressed out office workers sounds like a gimmick, like fancy, overpriced static.
It sounds like science fiction, certainly, but it's rooted in real acoustics and cognitive science. The way you curate the ambient noise around you has a profound impact on cognitive function and distraction filtering.
Right, so I looked into the colors, and it's basically about how the frequencies are distributed. I think most of us only know white noise, which is like a fan running.
Right, equal power across all bands.
Exactly, from 20 to 20,000 hertz. So it creates a consistent wall of sound. It's basically an acoustic blanket that masks unpredictable background distractions, like the almond-eating coworker.
Which is perfect for sleep, too.
But then I saw brown noise trending everywhere online, especially in ADHD communities. According to the acoustics breakdown, brown noise removes the high-pitched hiss of white noise and focuses the energy on the lower frequencies.
So it's a deeper sound.
Yeah, it sounds like a deep, rumbling waterfall or a really heavy rainstorm.
And that lower frequency profile is often reported to be much more soothing for neurodivergent brains, as it provides sensory input without the piercing quality of higher frequencies.
Then you have pink noise, which mimics nature like rustling leaves or a steady wind. It's softer and more balanced than white noise.
But the really interesting clinical application comes with green noise.
Oh yeah, tell me about green noise.
This sits right in the middle of the audio spectrum. It simulates natural outdoor ambient sound, but it attempts to completely strip away anything that sounds human-made or mechanical.
Just pure nature.
Basically. And beyond just focus, it's frequently utilized in sound masking therapies for people suffering from tinnitus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that persistent, distracting ringing in the ears, it's theorized to really help with that.
Okay, so the colors make sense. You're essentially choosing the equalization of the static to fit what your specific brain finds least irritating. But then we cross into the territory of binaural beats, and honestly, this sounds like a parlor trick.
It's an auditory illusion, specifically leveraging something called the frequency following response, but it requires headphones to work.
Because it plays different sounds in each ear.
Yes. The app will play two slightly offset tones into each ear. So your left ear might receive a 300 hertz tone, while your right ear receives a 310 hertz tone.
And your brain does not like that discrepancy.
Not at all. The brain attempts to reconcile the two distinct sounds, and in doing so, it invents a perceived third tone, a rhythmic beat that represents the mathematical difference between the two.
So in that example, it creates a 10 hertz beat.
Exactly.
So you bypass the conscious mind entirely and use an auditory illusion to manipulate brainwaves. Because that 10 hertz frequency falls directly into the alpha brainwave state, right?
Yes, it does. Alpha waves are the electrical patterns your brain naturally produces when you are in a state of relaxed, lucid focus. By playing these offset tones, you are mechanically coaxing your brainwaves to synchronize with that target frequency.
That's wild.
It's an acoustic method to encourage focus and reduce ambient anxiety.
That's a highly mechanical approach to mindfulness.
Yeah.
And the beauty is it's entirely passive. You just put your headphones on and let the frequency following response run in the background while you build your spreadsheet.
You don't have to think about it at all.
But eventually, the workday ends. You've managed the acute panic, you stretched out the physical tension, you used binaural beats to hit your deadline. Now the lights are off, you're lying in bed, and your brain suddenly decides it's the perfect time to review a conversation you had in 2014.
Oh, every time.
Yeah.
The transition from active daytime engagement to the vulnerability of trying to sleep is where many people struggle the most. The environment is quiet, which removes all the external distractions, leaving the mind alone with itself.
And this brings us to what the sources agree is the most popular, completely passive feature on the entire app: sleep stories. They actually have an almost cult-like following.
I believe it.
They have this massive celebrity roster reading these things. I mean, Matthew McConaughey, Harry Styles, Kelly Rowland, Tabitha Brown, Laura Dern, LeVar Burton, Lucy Liu.
It's quite the lineup.
It is. But from a psychological standpoint, why do grown adults need to be read bedtime stories?
It fundamentally comes down to performance anxiety.
Really? With sleep?
Yes. When you lie in the dark trying to force yourself to sleep, you often trigger a stress response. You think, if I don't fall asleep in the next 10 minutes, tomorrow is going to be a total disaster.
Oh, I've done that exact math.
Right. And then anxiety spikes your cortisol, which actively prevents sleep. So a sleep story utilizes the psychology of distraction. It provides a gentle, external narrative for your racing mind to follow.
So you aren't thinking about tomorrow's meeting.
Exactly. It gives your cognitive processes a safe landing pad. It's engaging enough to pull your attention away from your internal anxieties, but deliberately paced so you can drift off without needing to know how the story ends.
But there is a hilarious trap here, especially for our listeners who identify as, lifelong learners. Dr. Allison shared a great personal anecdote in her review about this.
Oh, this is so funny.
As a clinical psychologist, she loves learning. She's a passionate consumer of knowledge. So she queued up the nonfiction sleep stories, things like historical essays or deep dives into astronomy.
And it backfired completely.
Wide awake. She was mentally taking notes because she was too interested in the content to fall asleep.
It perfectly illustrates why you have to select the tool that matches your neurological state. If you are intellectually curious, you cannot use educational content to fall asleep.
It's just going to stimulate you.
Right. You have to choose fiction or a story read in a language you don't speak, or even a simple fairy tale. You have to let the soothing tone do the work, not the actual content.
And that cognitive hyperarousal isn't just an adult problem. Dr. Allison noted that children experience the exact same restless anxiety at bedtime, which is why the psychology of distraction applies to pediatric data as well.
They have a huge kids section, right?
They do. The app has a massive Calm Kids section featuring characters like Peppa Pig and Transformers.
The data from Calm's science team on this is quite striking, honestly. They surveyed over 900 parents, and 95% reported that the pediatric sleep stories helped their children fall asleep faster.
That's a massive success rate.
It is. But perhaps more importantly, 74% noted it lowered their own parenting stress as a consequence.
Well, yeah, if the kid is finally asleep, the parent's nervous system can finally downregulate. Though, Dr. Allison did add a very necessary caveat as a psychologist.
About replacing physical books.
Yes, she stated that while an app is a fantastic tool for a late night or a road trip, it shouldn't completely replace the physical act of a parent sitting down and reading a physical book with their child. It's a supplementary tool, not a substitute for human connection.
A vital distinction. But if we return to the specific friction point Dr. Allison experienced, the problem of a brain that thrives on processing information and actively wants to learn, we find the final and perhaps most surprising tool in the survival guide.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If your brain demands engagement, trying to force it into a quiet void is a losing battle. You need constructive redirection. And that is where the master classes come in.
Dr. Allison called this the most underrated, best-kept secret of the entire platform.
It really feels like a hybrid between a YouTube video and a premium podcast. You have 15 to 30-minute classes taught by recognized experts.
And the topics are surprisingly deep. You have Ryan Holiday teaching the practical applications of Stoic wisdom, how to definitively separate what you can control from what you can't.
Yeah, and Michelle May on mindful eating, Alex Pang exploring the power of rest, and even LeBron James doing a whole audio series on mental fitness and developing grit.
It's impressive. But how does listening to an intellectual podcast functionally replace meditation? Like, how is that mindful?
It has to do with how the brain idles. When your mind is wandering, it defaults to a network in the brain appropriately called the default mode network, or DMN.
Okay.
For many people, an active DMN is synonymous with anxious rumination and just worrying about the future. Active listening interrupts the DMN. By engaging with personal development content, say, on a flight or during a road trip, you are giving your brain structured external focus.
You're hijacking the anxious rumination and redirecting that anxious energy into constructive self-reflection. Precisely. And because the content itself is focused on emotional regulation and self-awareness, it satisfies the intellectual craving for knowledge while simultaneously lowering the emotional temperature. Learning, in this context, becomes an active form of mindfulness.
So we've mapped out a full day's worth of tools, from the morning stretch to the daytime focus frequencies to the evening masterclass commute, down to the sleep stories at night.
A complete toolkit.
But we have to evaluate the practical reality of accessing this toolkit, the cost. The subscription sits at $69.99 for a year, or $16.99 a month, though you might find holiday discounts.
Which requires a genuine cost-benefit analysis from the user.
Right. And all of our sources, from the clinical psychologists to the tech analysts, arrived at the exact same conclusion regarding the value.
Yeah.
If you are only going to download this app because you feel obligated to occasionally sit cross-legged and listen to someone tell you to breathe for 10 minutes, it is fundamentally not worth the money.
No, definitely not. You can find basic guided meditations for free on YouTube or Spotify.
Exactly. The value proposition only shifts if you utilize it as an integrated system. Tech reviewer Noah Banks referred to it as a digital spa.
That's a great term.
If you are actually deploying the breathing bubble for acute work stress, the binaural beats for deep work, and the sleep stories to bypass nighttime anxiety, the utility justifies the cost.
However, Noah Banks did raise a very valid critique about the user interface that we need to address. Because the app houses so much content, hundreds of stories, masterclasses, movement videos, soundscapes, he found the interface incredibly cluttered.
Yeah, with all those options, it can be overwhelming.
It creates a secondary problem. If you open an app specifically to reduce your anxiety and you are immediately hit with decision paralysis because there are 500 different thumbnails to click on, that is a significant UX failure.
So how do we solve that for the listener today? We turn that critique into an actionable strategy. If you decide to experiment with this kind of active mindfulness toolkit, do not open the app and look at all 500 features.
Keep it simple.
Ask yourself right now, what is your primary point of friction? If your biggest issue is waking up at 3 a.m. and not being able to fall back asleep, only open the Sleep Stories tab. Ignore the masterclasses. Ignore the stretching. Only use the tool that solves your immediate problem.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the ultimate takeaway from all these varying perspectives. Mindfulness is not a rigid, monolithic discipline.
Right.
It doesn't require a monastery or a perfectly silent room. It is a highly flexible toolkit that can and should be adapted to your specific neurochemistry and lifestyle, whether you're stretching, working, or trying to sleep.
You don't have to fundamentally change who you are or pretend you aren't busy to be mindful. You just have to change how you engage with the things you're already doing.
It's about recognizing your biological state in the moment and applying the specific mechanical tool needed to shift that state.
Which leaves me with one final provocative thought for you to chew on today. Think about the specific moments in your typical week when the stress hits the hardest. Those moments when you instinctively reach into your pocket, pull out your phone, and start doom scrolling just to numb the noise in your head.
We've all been there.
What if, instead of fighting that urge with sheer willpower or trying to force yourself to sit in perfect silence, you simply change the sound of the room you're in? Could actively changing the acoustic frequency of your background noise actually change the frequency of your thoughts?
It's a powerful idea.
If it can, it means you might never have to force yourself to sit cross-legged in a quiet room ever again.